Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahushai, Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahushai, Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahushai, Kol Yom La Adonai Yahweh, Bashem Shamalak Yahushai, Bashem Rakadash, the honors of the apostles and the elders, great millstone, presentation, and hope for elect. Shalom. The title of the video is going to be self-control over your spirit is better than controlling any territory. So, as you can see, verse 32 is the scripture I'm going to mostly read. And this is just going to be like pretty much like a mini lesson. I don't know, you be edified. So, it says right here in Proverbs 16, that's the chapter, verse 32. It says, he that is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he that ruleth his spirit than he that taketh a city. And, I was told the scripture by, one of the brothers in the main camp. Well, he was pretty shaman. He told me, and the spiritual thing is that he's from my tribe, the tribe of Benjamin. And he told me the scripture, because, he know that, I know, when this comes to this truth is like Jeremiah said, it's like, the prophet, it's like you can't hold this truth in. You're going to eventually want to do the works. If you're meant to get this truth, you're going to want to do it. It's a different story when the Most High takes you out this thing, but it's like when you're in this thing, it's like, it's just so much to do, so much to teach, so much to learn. And it's like, you can't just stop learning. You can't stop teaching unless the Spirit is not in you. And, we just hope that the Spirit is within us to do these works. And that's why it's like we try to be as righteous as possible, And then it's like we try to abstain from, from all appearances of evil and stuff like that. And, all manners of wickedness as much as possible. But, sometimes we might go off here and there, and it's nothing to brag about, nothing to, to boast about or nothing. It's just, that's how it is sometimes, because we're in these fleshly bodies, But it's like, when it's truth, when you pretty much understand the precepts, you start understanding like scriptures, you have scriptures in your mind and stuff like that to connect along with the precepts that brothers are bringing out during camp. It feels like sometimes you just want to read it out, or sometimes you always want to go. But it's like, it's kind of like in class, where, because like when you're doing a lesson, and whether it be a video lesson, pre-recorded, like what I'm doing right now, to, post it later on, or whether you're doing a live lesson, sit down, pre-recorded sit down, or a live sit down, or you're doing a, a camp lesson that's either live or pre-recorded. The fact of the matter is that you're teaching and you're feeding the sheep, and the truth is that there's always going to be a newcomer. There's even going to be brothers waking up at the last hour, scripture says. So you always got to keep feeding the sheep out there. And when you feed the sheep, it's like, there's going to be a time where, like, let's say if you don't feed the sheep or whatever, it's going to starve, and you got to keep feeding your livestock. If you had a farm, that's what you will do. And that's how you got to look at the nation of Israel. The apostles, they always out there feeding the sheep, and the elders as well as the brotherhood. And because they have fed us, and I respect the lots of us coming into this truth at a certain time, we have to do the same and feed the ones that, whoever's meant to get it will pretty much, watch the videos. The Lord will guide them through to get to this word. And the main point I want to get out of it is, I don't want to go too much on a rant, but, when it's coming to like self-control, you have to know how to like control, yourself in this truth in a way of like, I mean, yeah, this truth, don't get me wrong, you're gonna be a little bit, you know, um, enthusiastic, especially when you first come into this thing. But then it's like you gotta kind of grow up into it to where you gotta let other brothers speak first. You gotta let your elders, your teacher talk first, because it's the order thing. How like in school, where there was one time my teacher told me that you can't always be first, and then that taught me something. Because I mean, even though I knew the answers and stuff, I just always kept raising my hand. There was even one time I kind of called out on certain words where, and I remember the same words too, because it was like kind of like big words at the time. Because I was like, in elementary school, like I think it was fifth grade, as far as I remember. And I remember, no, it was fourth grade, fourth or fifth grade, one of those grades. And I can't remember, and I heavily believe it was fifth grade. And I was saying these words, and one of my teachers, her name was Miss Sackowitz, some old teacher for English, some English class, and she said, she was trying to call out certain students to say certain words, and then I remember one of it was appear, and I said disappear, and then she said like, excuse me, sir, you're calling out, I can't do that. There was even one time it got to the point where like she saw that I was a little upset or whatever because I didn't go first. She said, "I'm sorry, Quentin, you can't always go first all the time." You know, so pretty much she said like, she's sorry. I can't go first all the time and stuff like that. You know, and that's really showed me right there that pretty much you know, just because you can't go first doesn't mean that that you should quit on yourself or anything. You gotta pretty much keep um you know pushing, and you also gotta allow other people to have a chance to speak. You know, because that's how order is. Even in a job, if you have a meeting, you know, there's a lot of important information to bring out. There might even be some good points, and it's like we don't got all the time to bring it out. So it's like you gotta pick who gets to bring out, you know, what and what to bring out, in the order that you should bring it out. That's how it is. And, when you're really a spirit, it shows you that how much, spiritual maturity that you have in the truth. So, you know, usually if you're new into this thing, you're considered as a babe and you're growing and you have to learn certain things like this. There's just the little things you have to learn too. You gotta learn the little milk before you get to the meat. That's how it is, you know, because a baby don't learn walking at first. It has to crawl, then it walks, and then as it's growing its teeth, it can eat solid things. But right now, it has to pretty much eat, light things, things that's considered to be baby food before his teeth grows, and then as his teeth grows, he gets to eat on things that are not as hard as the things that a regular person can eat. You know, so yeah, there's everything. There's always a process with everything, and there's always an order with everything. You know, everything has an evolution to it. You know, and you just want to mostly show that you have, that self control and this truth to control your spirit. Because when you're a teacher, that's how you have to be in your classes. You know, I mean, you could be enthusiastic in a way, but it's just that you got to control yourself because you don't want your students to end up being hyper, to end up trying to say something over somebody. That's kind of disrespectful. It's one at a time. It's kind of like when you let's say, I don't know, like somebody's making random guesses for the answer, and y'all playing like some type of game, and everybody's calling it out. You can't hear nobody, clearly. So you got to be like one at a time, you know. And one crucial key point about the scripture where it says, "And he that ruleth his spirit, than he that taketh a city," like, obviously you're better than the person that take up a city. When you look at Esau, what is he known for? Rape, robbery, murder, right? This man Esau is a fucking child. He's considered to be a child of the spirit. And this is the biblical fact of Esau, and it still ties to this day that he's a fucking child. You can see how these Edomites act on the job, how they can act in their everyday to day life. I don't give a damn if they claim that they're some godly people on TV, how they look so nice and how they advertise and stuff. When you deal with these fucking devils in real life and you see their true personality, their true nature, if you work with them and shit like that, that's how they really are. They're fucking devils. And, the Bible, like, already pretty much reveals them. And it's just that, like, if you most likely you're in this truth, you're gonna see Esau being revealed to you quicker than, the rest of Jake's will, you know. At least, from my experience of me working with for certain Edomites and stuff, you know. So, and even, being in school, dealing with, like, I guess some of the, I guess, faculty members and stuff like that were Edomites. So yeah, you get to see their spirit out. They're childish in a way. And it's like, these are the same people that a lot of our people will think that those Edomites are the children of God, when in fact they're the children of the devil, when they're the children of Satan. And the Most High could give a power, for someone to take over the city or take over a country. He gave Esau that power with the sword. He's able to take over industries, take over cities, take over countries, and he does that. Taking and exploiting their resources and stuff. He don't deserve to have that power, but he has it because it's our punishment, and it's just to show the world who the devil is. It's all part of prophecy in the end of the day. So yeah, the Most High could give you power to do whatever. But at the end of the day, Esau has power and he don't know how to act because he can't control his spirit. His spirit proves that he's a fucking devil. And if anyhow he controls his spirit, it's because, the Most High got a leash on his ass, Meaning that, like, if they kind of like control themselves in a way to know how to act during a meeting or interview or something like that, when the time comes to for the Most High to reveal these devils or whatever, they will reveal themselves, on a full blown level. But for the most part, the Most High kind of got them a little restraint, because the Most High controls everybody. Yeah, he controls Esau. So, but it's just that the more of the stories that the Most High, he's the one that makes anyone, he could make anyone do anything. And in this case, he makes Esau to be the vessel of dishonor. So he's made to go off, and he's made to be the wicked. And he wasn't made to love our people. He was made to really hate our people. And, the majority of our people, they're just going to have to see this, in these end times, in the 2/3, they're going to have to realize that the hard way. And I got more scriptures about self-control from KJV. It says, Proverbs 25:28, he that hath no rule over his own spirit is like a city that is broken down and without walls. And, Proverbs 25:28 really shows that, like, that's Esau right there. He doesn't really have a rulership over his spirit, the right rulership, because he's considered in the, I think it was Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 5. Somewhere around there, it says, the spirit of Esau is not upright in him. His spirit is not upright in him. you know, and it really shows you right there that Esau, he's not um self-controlled through the spirit, you know. He doesn't have the right spirit because the Most High gave him the spirit of dishonor, you know. He made him to be a vessel of dishonor, and his spirit is not meant to follow the law, statutes, and commandments. That's why this whole society is based upon destroying every single law, statute, commandment, you know. And that's how it is. And then let me see. In Titus chapter 1 verse like I'm trying to bring out a good scripture. But it did tell you in Titus chapter 1 and 8 to, like, you know, to be temperate. And the word temperate means, like, you know, self restraint or self controlled. And you know, this really shows you right here that you know, through these scriptures, that it's always good to, you know, be temperate and self-controlled over your own spirit. So you don't ever want to basically lose that self-control, because once you lose it, as it says in Proverbs chapter 25 verse 28, you know, he that have no rule over his own spirit is like a city that is broken down and without walls, you know. And what example you showing to people that's in the truth? I mean, if you don't have rulership over your own spirit, you know. So, you know, that's how it is. And that's why there's a saying that goes in the world that patience is a virtue. So you have to be very patient. So you have to understand sometimes you're not going to always have your way. You know, you have to understand sometimes everybody else got to have their turn. You know? And I mean, when you look at it, the Most High, he's patient on having the heathens to rule. You know, even though he wants our people to rule, even though he wants our people to, you know, have their turn to put these heathens into captivity. You know, it's like these heathens, they had their fair rulership. You know, they had their kingdoms, and we built their kingdoms. And, you know, it really shows you right there that the Most High, he's patient himself. And the scriptures say he's slow to anger. We have to strive to be like that, you know, patient and slow to anger, you know, and mostly self-controlled of our own spirit. Because your spirit is basically considered to be your mind, you know, your psyche. And, you know, once your spirit is, you know, self-controlled, everything else follows. You know, your mind is controlled. You never take too much of anything. You know, you're remaining to be a balance. And that's how you have to be in, you know, in life. And even in this truth, you know. Because how you live your life is based upon this truth as well. You know, like following the dietary law and all that other stuff. That the commandments teach you, you know, to the best of your ability. And with that, I didn't want to make the lesson go that far, but I just had to show examples and stuff like that, you know, just to prove my point. But with that, I'd like to give all glory, praise, and honor to Adonai, Yahweh, Bashem, Shamalak, Yahweh, Bashem, Kakadash, to honor to the apostles and elders, great millstone, peace, citation, for elect, Yahweh, Shem, Shabbat, Bakasha, Shalak, Royam, Adawam, Yamwa, Abababo, Wako, Yamwa, Abababo, Shalom.